Hi there. I'm going to show you the setup and some data from the Yeast Respiration Lab. The Yeast Respiration Lab looks like this. Okay. First, we have to make a prediction. How does sugar affect the carbon dioxide production in yeast? You should make a hypothesis here. Okay. So think about that. How does sugar affect carbon dioxide production in yeast? Pause the video and write a hypothesis. And when you're done, unpause the video. So this lab involves actually looking at how yeast do respiration. So I'm going to mix together some stuff and do the setup, explaining as I go through. Then this has got to sit for a little while to activate. Then we're going to take some data readings, and by the end of this video, you'll have everything you need to be able to complete the lab. So the first thing I need to do is I need to label one graduated tube sugar and the other no sugar. So hold on a sec, let me do that. Okay, so let me switch to, so you can see those, what I'm talking about there. So these are my graduated tubes. One is labeled sugar, and one is labeled no sugar. Then I have to mix up my yeast solution with sugar and without sugar. In order to do that, I'm going to need some measuring spoons and some cups. So I have a couple of cups here. In both cups, I'm going to put, it says, a 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. So a 1/4 teaspoon of yeast in both cups. That cup and in that cup. And then it also says in the directions to add 1 teaspoon of sugar to one of those cups. So 1 teaspoon of sugar is going in to one of those cups, so obviously the sugar cup. And then it says to add 20 milliliters of water and stir. So I'll add 20 milliliters of water to that cup, 20 milliliters of water to that cup, and I'll stir them with a stir stick. And let me show you how that looks from above. This is the one with the sugar in it over here on the left side, and this is the one with not sugar in it over here on the right side. So I've stirred them up pretty thoroughly to let them mix in, and then what do I have to do after that? It says wait at least 5 minutes for the yeast to activate. So I'm going to wait for that, and then I'll set up the tubes. Okay, it's only been a couple of minutes, but I'm still waiting on the yeast to activate. This is the time for me to then answer these questions. So while we're waiting, read through on the handout and answer the questions. Write down the equation for cellular respiration. Answer question 2 and 3. Read about fermentation and what waste product. And in a couple more minutes, we're going to get to part 2. All right, I'm back again. Now, it's been a few minutes. It's been about 5 minutes. So now I'm going to follow the directions for part 2, and then I'm going to start to take readings. So I'm going to show you how to do the setup for part 2 with my camera. What I want to do is I want to put the yeast solution that's in this cup into this graduated tube. And I want it to overflow a little bit because as the yeast produces carbon dioxide, it's going to push some of the solution out, but the carbon dioxide is going to get trapped at the top of the tube. You'll kind of see. All right, so I'm going to pour this until it's overflowing at the top. There's a little dome of yeast solution. It's okay if some of it spills. It's not a big deal. And I'm going to put the lid on it. And this lid has a little hole in it so that some of that yeast solution, when it's screwed on tight, is pushing out of the hole at the top. See that little bubble there? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my finger over the hole, and I'm going to invert that tube into a cup. I'm going to do the same for the no sugar yeast solution. Pour it into the graduated tube so that it overflows. put the lid on it so that some of it's coming out the top. So I've got a nice bubble-free environment. Then I'm going to put my finger over it and invert it into the no sugar. Now what's happening with these is the yeast are going to produce carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a gas. It doesn't dissolve in the water, so it's going to rise to the top of the tube. But it can't go anywhere in the tube because the tube's going to catch it. So you can see at the top there's a bubble forming at the top. That's carbon dioxide that the yeast are producing. Kind of the same thing here on this one. There's a bubble at the top. That's what the yeast are producing. And I'm going to keep track of these on a sheet that looks like this. Every couple of minutes, okay, every couple of minutes, I'm going to mark where that level of that bubble is. And after 16 minutes, then I'll know how much carbon dioxide was produced by the sugar compared to how much carbon dioxide is produced by the no sugar. All right? So while I'm keeping track of that, I'm going to pause, and then when we get to the end result, I'll share the results with you. Okay, I've been collecting data on this lab, and as you can see, I marked a line on my observation sheet. Oops, this lined up right here. I marked the line on the observation sheet where the bubble was in the yeast with sugar. You can see the line here, and here, and here, and here, and in the yeast with no sugar. Here's the line, here's the line, here's the line, here's the line. So I need to read those volumes next, and I'm going to type those into the table, and then you'll have the values that you can do to complete the graph. So once you see those results in the table, then you can finish the lab.